So as I welcome you into settling into your seat today, want to acknowledge that in addition to the counting of the Omer as we trace our spiritual journey from Passover to Shavuot, we also have a wonderful occasion in the Jewish calendar today known as Pesach Sheni, or the second Passover. And this is a beautiful idea of second chances, right? That if for whatever reason, Passover didn't come together for you this year, physically, figuratively, spiritually, that we all have a second chance on Pesach Sheni, on this 14th day in the month of Iyar in the Jewish calendar. So I want to invite you into your seats. We're going to start with a little bit of song. And thank you to Natalie for sharing the source sheet today in the chat. If you want to follow along, sing along, you can open that sheet, and we'll start with the words at the top of the page and then head into our text a little bit around the second Passover. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. There are so many ways that we mark returning in the Jewish calendar, and even in meditation, right? The return of the breath, the inhalation, the exhalation. We have the high point of Tshuva in our Jewish calendar with the month of Elul that precedes our new year, Rosh Hashanah, and followed by Yom Kippur. So all these opportunities for return that we have both on the micro and the macro level. So in the book of Numbers in the Torah, we read this text that's on the source sheet. I'll read it out loud for everyone as well in case you don't have access to that source sheet. It says in the book of Numbers, any person who is contaminated by death, in other words, who comes in close contact with death, or is on a distant road, whether among you now or in future generations, shall prepare a Passover offering to God. They shall prepare it on the afternoon of the 14th day of the second month, and shall eat it with matzahs and bitter herbs. So if we read this text more broadly, it really communicates to us that there can be many reasons why we miss out on Passover. Again, either internally, maybe we were sitting at the Seder table, but we felt disconnected, or we were mourning the loss of something or someone in a way that blocked us from being able to participate as fully as we might have hoped. We may have been figuratively or literally on a distant road. And I love that this verse from the Torah mentions that this is not just about our biblical ancestors in the Torah, but it applies to future generations, to circumstances beyond what the Torah might have described in this moment, but became inclusive in that way to include all of us who are sitting here today, and to also include a wide range of reasons for why someone might need a second chance when it comes to Passover or life in general. And then I want to share this beautiful quote by Karen Wolfers Rappaport about Pesach Sheni. Again, it's the last text on your source sheet, but I'll read it out loud as well. Pesach Sheni, the second Passover, represents the power of rerouting our core to our divine connection. This is the essence of tshuva, the power of return. Tshuva is defined as repentance, but it encompasses something far greater. It is the power to embrace comprehensive change, the power to shift from one state to another. No matter how distant, no matter how disconnected, God gives us the power to repair and rebound. Our brush with death can give us life. Our distance can lead to greater closeness to both ourselves and to God. Pesach Sheni, the holiday of second chances, reminds us that we can always change our steps and return home. Thank you, Natalie, for sharing the source sheet. We can take that down and it'll be available in the chat to those people who want to take it with them today. So this is my invitation to you to enter into the breath, the inhalation, the exhalation, the return, the ebb and flow. And maybe through this time of meditation to open our hearts up to things that might wash over us, that might, I don't want you, as our good friend and teacher, Rabbi Jordan Bendat Appel will say, don't go looking for trouble. Right? But just whatever comes up for you in this meditation, to invite in the possibility of return and repair, whether it's on a micro level or a macro level, maybe something that you're open to today that wasn't available to you a month ago, some possibility, some hope, some ray of light that's coming in through a crack. Where something that seemed impossible a month ago might seem more accessible to you. So I invite you into that possibility, that emerging through our sit today, as you feel the contact of body parts with something that's holding you, whether it's a chair, cushion, floor, if your feet are in contact with the ground, a piece of furniture, acknowledging that support as well. And if the breath is an anchor that's available to you, a point of focus today, to become aware of that ebb and flow. Flow of the inhale and the ebb of the exhale. How that presents in your body today. If the breath is not an anchor that is available to you to focus on in this moment, you might want to return to the words of the melody that we sang to open. Return again. Return again. We'll sit together for the next 10 or 12 minutes together and come back to the sounds of that melody to close our sit today. return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to where you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Pesach Sheni, the holiday of second chances, reminds us that we can always change our steps and return home.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Susan Leider, leading us again so beautifully today. Friends, let's seal the practice we do each day. If you're not reciting Kaddish, I want to encourage you to stay present for those who are, to support them in their time of loss. So if you are in mourning, or you are observing a yard site at this time, or if it's your custom to join in the mourner's Kaddish, we invite you to do so. Thanks to Natalie for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. And if you are joining me, please rise in body or in spirit as you're able, and you can unmute at this time to recite Kaddish together.
Buchdahl,
Yadashi Rabba, Mama Dibra Kont Bimechon, Hayed Chobit El, Agala Bisman Kari,
Bisman Kari, Simran,
Heshme Rabba
Brach,
Brach, Say,
Sar,
Ela Mikata Ran Lama Rabba Misham
Ayim Aleinu, Israel,
Shalom
Israel, Amen.
Friends, thanks so much for joining us today. If you're leaving us now, hope you'll join us tomorrow. We'll be led in practice tomorrow by Rabbi Adam Klickfeld of Temple Beth Am in Los Angeles. I didn't mention at the outset also on Thursday, we're really delighted this Thursday that we're going to be, once again, our sit will be co-sponsored by Dorot in New York City. That's going to be a special sit focusing on themes of wise aging. Going to be led by Larry Schwartz, former president of the board of IJS and a graduate of our mindfulness teacher training programs. Is a wonderful teacher. So just wanted to let you know about that as well. And on Wednesday, we'll be led by Rabbi Margie Jacobs. And on Friday, Rebecca Schisler of the IJS faculty will lead us Friday to sit into Shabbat, which also happens to be Lag BaOmer. So I look forward to that. We hope you'll stay on. Want to thank Natalie Rushinoff for holding our tech space today, as always, beautifully. And also our teacher today, Rabbi Susan Leider. And if you would like to share reflection on today's practice, you can do that in the chat. If you want to ask Rabbi Susan a question, you can put that in the chat as well. Just preface it by write the question in small caps, and I'll keep an eye out for it. And let's bring Susan in here. Oops, now I got to bring myself in there. Here we go. Okay. Susan, thanks so much. I love Pesach. Hold on a second.
All right. He's ready for Pesach
I'm
Sheni
ready.
with his
I'm ready for
box of
Pesach Sheni.
matzah.
Pesach Sheni. Um, so I do love that. First of all, I love that because we practice almost every day, at least weekdays, we really get to track the flow of the Jewish year, and including days which, are so-called minor days on the Jewish calendar that people may not know about, or may not, if they know about it, may not really be cognizant of when they roll around. So I loved that we got to mark Pesach Sheni today. It's great. Not only because I have my matzahs sitting there on the counter, just in case, but because of the theme that you brought us to today of oh, by the way, I think if you is your original music off now?
Sorry, it is now. My
Okay,
apologies. It was
that's
picking
okay.
up all kinds of
There's just a
stuff,
little.
probably.
Yeah, that's better. Okay. So anyway,
Thank you.
the theme of second chance, of returning again, just feels quite basic, fundamental to our meditation practice. It's a kind of do Pesach Sheni all the time. But I especially love that piece in the Torah basis for it about being on a distant road, and what you said, bringing in Rabbi Jordan Ben Appel, advice slash suggestion, don't go looking for trouble, when we're meditating, that our practice is really noticing our mind going off. We set an intention, we stray from intention, and we wander off, and sometimes we go on a distant road, like we're far from present. We're far from in the here and now. And it's just a beautiful message that says that even then, even when we're like so far, you say like, oh, it's not, I blew it, you know, I missed Pesach. I missed the meditation. I did a terrible job. The essence of this message is it doesn't matter how far you are, with the next breath, you can come back and be right here. And I love that. I thought that was great. And I do want to bring in a little bit of the where we are in the Omer and lay that over. I saw Harris had a good question about whether Pesach Sheni always falls in this week of Hod. So I just wanted to explore a little bit and play with some of those themes, because today is the day of Chesed Shebachod, of loving kindness within Hod, gratitude. So I just think about, first of all, Hod is also right, fundamental to this practice about we're just stopping to be. But the Chesed part is like when we are on that distant road, you know, and Rabbi Jordan, Jordan Ben Appel's advice, don't go looking for trouble, is a Chesed reminder, right? We could look for trouble, and so maybe sometimes we need to look for trouble, right? But the chesed is said like, right now, I don't need to look for trouble. I don't need to beat myself up about being so far from my intention. I can come back right now and I can be back in Hod. So all of that is was, because of your guidance today, that led me to that practice of noticing being far away from intention, catching myself with chesed, come back to Hod, come back to gratitude, come back to just being present, right? So I don't know, just wanted to get your response to that, or riff on any connection between this for you and the quality of Hod or Chesed. And
I mean, one thing that's coming to mind, I didn't say this when I raised Rabbi Ben Appel's teaching, but the idea of don't go looking for trouble is also that to pick a small thing, right? Take a small step.
Mhm.
You don't have to tackle the biggest conflict in your life or the biggest error that you did, right? But just a small thing. And I feel like that's where that chesed comes in. Is that's the compassion, is there's plenty of small things to choose from for us. I kind of setting reasonable goals. And I also feel like with Hod, also this idea of gratitude, but also acceptance is to pick something that we can actually affect, right? That allows us to accept how things are, but also to acknowledge where do we have agency and where can we shift? Because there's an awful lot of things that we don't have agency over
Right.
and we can't shift, and we need a great deal of loving acceptance of those things. But then with that same compassion, there are these small little things that we can say, oh, that's something I could look at. That's something I could do. That's a small second chance that could make a difference in my life.
Yeah.
And it's someone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. Harris asked about whether Pesach Sheni always falls during the week of Hod, and I guess it does, right? It's this day of the Omer. So yeah.
Harris, I loved that you asked such a, as we say, a tachlis and concrete question, but deep as well. One of the things that I love is it's actually by my bed so that I remember to count the Omer at night. But Sidur Lev Shalem, the conservative movement's prayer book, it lines it all up with the Sefirot and also aligns it with the dates in the Jewish calendar. So before I count, I can always read,
Mhm.
that kind of reminder of like, oh yeah, this is Pesach Sheni, and same with Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day, or Yom HaZikaron, Israel Memorial Day, the other observances that we have in this period. So it is such an interesting way to observe how they intersect and intertwine. And as far as Harris's question about, is that intentional? Well, it's an interesting question because it's overlaying the Sefirot over a biblical text. So today is the 14th of Iyar, the second month according to the Torah. That is a whole different topic of how we would talk about the counting, but it's clear this a month after our Seder. And so, Mark, I'm imagining, and please riff, but I'm imagining the rabbis could have found various ways to drash or to interpret any of the sefirot, the mystical aspects of God, with this ancient biblical observance. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I don't think so.
You don't think it was intentional?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I don't know if I don't think it's intentional, but it's a conflict. It's an interesting. I mean, I guess the way I approach it is that um, meaning emerges from that. Like, you could say, well, it's just a coincidence, right? But it it caught my attention that, oh, these qualities of returning, of second chance, of no matter uh, how far removed we are from our intention or where we needed to be in that moment, that we can come back to it and combine that with these two other qualities that are associated with this day of loving kindness. So we're not being yanked back to second chance, right? We're not being pushed back to a second chance. We're not being forced back or forcing ourselves back. We're inviting ourselves. Actually, it's a loving invitation to come back. And it's a loving attitude towards the fact that we have strayed so far, which is so hard for all of us, right? When we are not our best selves, to be able to have enough gevura, enough judgment and discernment to actually be honest about that. Like, I was really lost here. I did not pay attention, or wow, that really was not my best self that spoke there or acted there. But how to combine that with and a loving invitation of, I just want you to come back and be with me. That's the other thing, is that, the song, I always associate it with the high holidays too, right? It's really, but as soon as you started singing it, that's where I was in Slichot and Elul and Rosh Hashanah and the 10 days of turning. Um, and but it's this homecoming also, and what are we coming home to? That also is very powerful. And what is our home? And to associate that with love and with just being, to be enough, the Hod quality. I just really like that. I like that. Oh, let's get to this Jones question, which is really interesting. Is there a blessing for a second chance? I love that.
Ah, I loved it
I
too.
love that too. Doing something that repairs a lack or loss or starts or restarts a left behind project, a Pesach Sheni blessing. I
What do
mean,
you think? What comes to
I
mind
don't
for
think
you,
there
Mark?
is, I don't, there isn't a traditional blessing,
Yeah.
but if we really think about blessings as a mindfulness practice, right? The point of the blessings is to become conscious of what is happening in the moment and to be intentional about it. That's what a blessing practice is. So they may not be a traditional blessing for that moment, but I love the idea of creating a practice of saying a blessing of may I, I actually let's co-create it, invite in the chat. What would people say?
Mhm.
How would you create that blessing? What would be the content of the blessing? May I, or, blessed is the one who offers an opportunity to return. Something in that, along those lines. I don't know.
We have some suggestions already, even before
Yeah,
your invitation, Mark. Shehechianu, some people
right.
said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so we'll watch the chat to see if people want to add. One thing, so for coming home to self, that's beautiful. For starting out on a new journey of return. Tefillat HaDerech, the prayer that we say on a journey, that's beautiful. One thing that it came to mind from the rabbi's kind of list of brachot or catalog is Hatov v'Hametiv, which is what we say when there's good news. Who literally like the goodness makes good. And so, um, in addition to riffing on our own, may we all be blessed with self-compassion when we need second chances and with people who will support us when we take them. Mm.
Thank you, Pam. I do like, the Tefillah Haderech about the prayer. I like framing all of it as a journey, and just being cognizant of where we are in the journey, having the stopping points and moving and thinking
Mm.
about it. We're getting towards the end of the book of Leviticus and we will get in a few weeks into the book of Numbers, which is about the journey through the Midbar, through the wilderness, and the stations of stopping and the movement along the way and the coming back. I don't know. Tefillat HaDerech may not be the blessing, but I like the frame of that, of straying from the path, but also always have an opportunity to catch up and rejoin along the way. Thanks for that, Natasha. Um, Pam, I think you got a winner there. Thank you. And we're all present for that. All right, Susan, as always,
Thank you.
such a pleasure. And really, here's to you. I,
Thank you,
I
Mark.
lift my matzah and salute. Yeah.
And to
That
our
would
next
it's
get
still,
together.
I think also matzah it stays fresh for exactly 1 month so that you can eat it on Pesach Sheni. And
There we
then
go.
after this, it's a little bit like the manna,
The Teavon, bon appetit. But I'm going to put in a shameless plug in our last minute that I'll hopefully see as many of you as possible as we celebrate Mark on the 29th and ourselves and this incredible container that Mark has helped us build together. So
Thank you so much, Susan. Appreciate that very much. Thanks to Natalie for holding our space and all of you for being here. Hope to see you tomorrow with Rabbi Adam Klickfeld at our usual time, everyone. Many blessings. Chag